Hi, everybody. Great to see the Ruthless Crab has made it. Bonjour, Paul. Hello, Anna. And welcome, Chris K. And hello again, Michael. And sorry about the confusion on it being 15 minutes past. So again, there was a couple people had mentioned that. So this is 8:16, I guess now Eastern. But for the folks that are on West Coast on the Pacific time, it's that's 5 o'clock's like stopping time for people, and so there was a couple folks that said 15 minutes past would be a nicer spot, and I oblige. So time is a crazy construct as it is, I guess. But yeah, so there's no sound. Interesting. Can anybody hear me? Okay, thank you, Paul. All right, thank you, Jennifer, and hello, Jennifer. Okay. Yeah, I have done that as well. Excellent, loud and clear. Oh, hello, Brooke. Welcome, Brooke. So we'll play. I'm going to try to play two sides of the same coin. With a couple people have asked about. I did meditations for May the 4th. May the 4th be with you for Star Wars. I want to say that was way back during the pandemic. That may have been 21 though. So 2020 or 2021, I did some like Star Wars style meditations and guidance. And so today I'm gonna balance it with, if you don't want to think about this from the Star Wars Force sensitive being perspective, don't have to. It'll still be, I think, worthwhile from a posture and like sensing body meditation. But the title for this one was because we played around a bit with Dudism things from the Big Lebowski. So I thought I'd play around a little bit for our something from Star Wars. So that's where we're headed. I forgot to say who I am, but I realized everybody that's in chat knows who I am, but the people that are watching afterwards won't. I'm Andrew. I'm a certified mindfulness meditation coach. Folks may know me from being the moderator and sometimes guest host on the Do Nothing Project. And I am 2 weeks away from finishing my thank you, Paul. I'm 2 weeks away from finishing my Buddhist immersion meditation teacher training program with Susan Piver. So that is my like on the cusp of good news. And that training was for a very, very specific meditation technique called Shamatha Vipassana, or Vipassana if you're using, I think that's the Sanskrit version of the Pali Vipassana. So that's coming up. So wish me luck on the 24th, because that's like the final exam. And then, thanks, Ruth. So that's news. And I've got my bell. Thank you, Brooke. Brooke's also in a teacher training program, and I don't know where you're at with that at the moment. So good luck to you as well if you're at that edge towards the end of that. I don't remember how long yours is. I forget. Mine's like 16 weeks, and that doesn't sound like a lot when after you've done it, but oh yeah, so a couple months into 2 years overall. Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of the training programs are like, I guess the larger ones that have teacher attached to it will be 1 to 2 years. All right, just pausing for a minute. Said way too much, but I'm under 5 minutes. So I said I told myself I would try to get us to a topic in under 5 minutes. All right. Topics for future stuff are open. So if you have ideas and suggestions, you can always send those along. You can reply to the emails that I've sent out. So most of you that have sought me out or found me found me through the Google form that I posted. And so I've been kind of sending out, using that as an unofficial mailing list. So if you've gotten those mailings, and then you can also reach out on Instagram. The handle is Leonards, Lenards.coaching. All right. So the breath meditation, or the approach we'll go with, we'll talk about how we can use breath as an anchor or as a home base if we want. But the meditate like a Jedi, what we'll look at is this notion of being able to have kind of a thin coat of awareness around over the skin, and then seeing if you can start from there. Jeff will often talk about this and like kind of sitting in the awareness of knowing that you're sitting, which is kind of that starting point that usually in a do nothing sit will mark as our waypoint that you can come back to. But if we start with that and then we kind of layer out, it sounds mystical, but you'll notice that you can, and when you have awareness around the edge of the body, you can kind of feel into the space that you're in. And to me, if you look at a lot of what is at least cinematically shown for Jedi meditation, there's a connection to what's around me, or like what things are around me. So there's sort of a you meditating in space, and that space like pew pew, like and stars blowing up, but like what is around you. So that's what we'll play around with as our something. And then we'll sit for 25 minutes. And the last 6-ish minutes, I'll start the transition. We'll let go of whatever we've decided is our home base. And we'll go into kind of a do nothing frame. You're always welcome to stick with whatever object or whatever home base you've had. And so totally fine. That part's kind of the take it or leave it, which sounds way more unhospitable. Not what I mean though. So, but yeah, so that's what we're doing. Questions, you can always pop over here before I ring the fancy bell. All right. Cool. And so you're always welcome to kind of let my guidance be in the background, but we'll go ahead and just start with our posture. And so ideally you're looking at some level of sort of sitting either on a chair or a cushion, but you could be lying down and you could be standing. If you're standing, you may want to play with having your hands hands clasped in front of you. That's one way you'll see a lot of folks that are like doing Taoist meditation. They'll clasp their hands in front of them. And what we're really aiming for is a natural upright back or natural upright spine. So I'll use the sort of mnemonic of we're looking for a spine that's upright but not uptight. So you're not sort of efforting, like you're not trying to be rail straight. There's just sort of a softness or a suppleness to the way the spine is allowing you to naturally sit upright. And if you're curious, the reason for that is that it cues the nervous system to kind of shift more towards an alertness side of things. And once you've settled into the posture, just kind of checking out what it's like to be in the body right now. So we're moving from kind of go doing frame in our day to a being frame. And what does that transition feel like? And sometimes that transition can feel uncomfortable. So just allowing that, setting some expectations around that. And then a few deliberate breaths. This is just again to shift us from that doing mode to more of the being mode. So breathing in through the nose allows us to breathe low into the belly. Breathing out allows us to slow and extend our exhale. And in doing that, we're cueing the body that it's okay to shift into a rest, relaxation state. So at the top, I mentioned this beginning point of kind of being aware of the body sitting in the posture that you're in or lying down. And then seeing if you can be aware of the edge of the skin. Temperature might be the easiest clue, but the edge of the skin sort of everywhere all at once. And if that's too much, then shift to just the pressure points. And from the pressure points, see if you can begin to expand the awareness so that you feel more and more of the edge of the body. You may hit a limit of how much you can feel, and that's okay. Just playing around with that. Or you may be able to more easily feel where the skin is uncovered, or the opposite of where the skin is covered with clothes. And then as we experiment, if the experiment sort of crashes and burns, then go ahead and start back with a few calming breaths. Offer yourself, see if you can be frustrated for like 3 seconds and then let that go. And if you're able to feel kind of that thin coat of awareness over the whole body, see if you can extend it out a little bit. So you might feel a little bit of the breeze. Or you might notice that you can feel the front of the torso easier than the back when you're extending out. That's fine. and then inching a little bit further. So if you're in a room, maybe see if you can get to the edges of the space that you're in. And if you're outside, then I don't know, maybe see if you can sort of feel out to the edge of maybe a bubble that's around you. And seeing if you can extend out your awareness from the edge of the skin and just feel if there's anyone around you. Maybe there's a pet, a partner, a sibling, a child. So, can you feel where they are in relationship to your body? The front, the back, sort of to the left corner of you. And if this sort of extended awareness feels like it fell down or collapsed, see if you can start back the pressure points. Start back from where you're grounded, and then begin the process again. And as a caveat, you're always welcome to switch back to a home base. You can switch the direction and go back in and feel the body. Stay there. But if you're still with me in the extending mode, see if you can feel a houseplant or tree, a shrub, a cactus. So whatever's near you in your location. If you live in the Midwest, you probably don't have a cactus. And then slowly see if you can draw your awareness back in. Step by step, bringing the awareness back to the edge of the skin. And then as your awareness gets back to the edge of the skin, just see if you can coat the edge of the skin just a little bit thicker than that thin layer. Bring as much awareness to the edges of your body as possible. And then shifting our awareness from the edges to the pressure points. Seeing if you can soak as much attention into the pressure points. So the sits bones, your feet on the floor, your legs if they're crossed. Feeling the pressure as both the support and as connection. And then before we let go of the technique, see if you can bring your attention to the breath and not just sort of witness it, but see if you can feel a few breaths. And if you want to make them a little bit deeper, that's okay. Try that out. And then letting the breath be as normal as you can. And then your options here are to go ahead and stick with whatever you've been using as a home base or whatever you'd like to use for the next bit. But if you're up for letting that go ahead and shift into kind of the technique of no technique or do nothing. And so we've been kind of, and now it's a chance to just stop pedaling and coast. So the do nothing, part of the reason I love it is it's the real expression of the being mode because there's nothing to do and nowhere to go. Just to be here. And so some days being here can feel super awesome, and other days being here and not doing anything can feel like the hardest thing in the world. And so one more kind of last caveat. So you may find that when you shift into doing nothing, that you sort of spontaneously start doing whatever meditation technique you do most often. So you suddenly notice that you're counting the breath, or you're counting your breaths, and then you stop, and then you notice that you're counting the breaths again. Just kind of let that be in the background. Or if you do mantra practice, you may notice that your mantra sort of spontaneously begins to be repeated in mental talk. And so that can be annoying, and you can also see if we can let it be in the background. thank you for joining tonight. Thank you for sitting with me, and it's probably one of the more experimental meditations I've offered. If you have any reports, questions, and such, you can put those in chat. And then also, if you're like Brooke and need to skedaddle, I totally understand. It is getting it's getting close to 9 on the East Coast. We've still got plenty of sun here in Arizona, and hopefully you can still hear me. That's that's great to hear, Ruth. And then Ruth, I'm sorry you missed so you join and then I don't do the Lebowski stuff. So for those, I don't know if I mentioned it here, but Ruthless Crab and I both are ordained Dudist priests in the Church of the Latter-day Dude. So you're very welcome, Paul. Excellent. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I was a little worried that it would be a little too out there. I notice when I sit that I can kind of, like, depending on where I sit in, it is just my opinion. I notice that where I sit, depending on if I sit here in this room, it feels different than if I sit on my patio or if I sit in the living room, or when you sit in a meditation group, which we really, for the most part, for those of us that are lucky enough to have in-person groups available where we're at, there is a different feeling to sitting with a group as opposed to sitting on your own. And then there still is an approximation of that when you're sitting on Zoom or such, where there's a sort of synchronizing of kind of everybody doing it at the same time. But that I've noticed a lot of that sense of the space. And for folks that have seen the Rise of Skywalker, there's this, like, beginning of the movie, there's a scene where the character Rey is sort of levitating and then has rocks spinning around her, and she's like sort of trying to meditate sort of with the space out around her. I always thought that was interesting. I am not comfortable enough. I can maybe touch my heart in loving kindness meditation, but I wouldn't use the mantra which Rey is using in the movie, which is, I think, "Be with me" or something like that. In essence, she's trying to connect to past Jedis. So if you haven't seen the movie, and it is one of the more frustrating movies to watch, so I'm not going to recommend that you have to see that movie, but you're very welcome, Michael. So we'll be back next week. Probably not a Star Wars theme, depending on, but we'll probably play around with something else. And yeah. So, and also hello to folks that are joining after. A couple folks have noted that they're able to watch the recordings, but they're not able to join live. So super appreciate everyone coming and for taking the time to sit. So yeah, I'll see you on Sunday in chat and Wednesday next week. Bye. Oh, so Paul, if you email I do South Park. So that email, you're very welcome. Thank you very much, Anna. And then Colette, if you're here and I didn't say hi to you, sorry. Thank you very much. Or if you're watching later in recordings, hello, Colette. So andrew.leonards@gmail.com. Paul would be the best way to reach out to me, and then I'll add your email to the list for that. So yeah, cool. All right, we'll see ya.